Hello everyone, welcome along to the Fuji International Speedway for the second half of the GT World Challenge Asia powered by AWS. The second half of the season kicking off with race 1 as Mount Fuji looks over this wonderful racetrack. Mixed conditions for the week in Fuji with heavy cloud cover across most of the week. We have had some pretty heavy showers, but race day looks to be, whilst warm and cloudy, at least it will stay dry for the majority of our racing action. The circuit, built in 1965, has undergone many changes over the last couple of years and now is 4.3 kilometres in length.
This, ladies and gentlemen, is what a record entry looks like. Welcome to Fuji Speedway, where a record 56 GT cars, the most in SRO Asia's history, gathered for the first GT Power Tour event of 2025.
ジャパンカップは3クラス合計25台がエントリーし、シリーズ過去最多を記録。一方の GT ワールドチャレンジアジアパワードバイ AWS は合計31台が参戦します。
The continent's biggest GT3 series completed its Southeast Asia leg last time out in Thailand, where victory propelled Jeffrey Ibrahim back to the top of the drivers' standings. However, the championship is incredibly close at half distance. Just 7 points separate the top 4 crews, with 6 races remaining.
JMR's Corvette is 6 clear of 2 crews without an overall win to their names so far this year. Runaway Silver Am leaders Ruan Kunfan and Maxime Usten have scored in all 6 races, while 3 podiums leave Dorian Boccolacci and 2023 champion Anthony Liu tied on the same total. That trio all scored big in Thailand, unlike reigning champions Bob Yuan and Leo Yi, who have slipped from 1st to 4th with 2 DNFs.
Elsewhere, Yu Kuai and Chen Kongfu claimed their first overall win of the season to solidify their silver class advantage, while David Tiptoe Biantoro remains on course to retain his AM title with Christian Colombo. Likewise, Mercedes-AMG, which continues to lead the GT World Challenge global manufacturer standings. However, its advantage over BMW now stands at just 6 points, following the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, where Lamborghini scored its first overall victory 2 weeks ago.
GT ワールドチャレンジアジアはシーズン後半戦を迎えますが、3週間前にスポーツランドス号で開幕したジャパンカップはまだまだこれからです。
ビンゴレーシング with LM コルサは今シーズンからフェラーリ 296GT3 へとマシンをスイッチ。スゴー大会の金曜日にシェイクダウンを行ったにもかかわらず、レース1では優勝を飾り、レース2でも2位表彰台を獲得し、ランキングトップに立ちます。
マックスレーシングはスゴーのレース2で見事な優勝を掲げ、ランキング2位につけます。総合力に優れたドライバーラインナップで有力なチャンピオン候補として名乗りを上げました。
GT4 クラスはトヨタガズーレーシングインドネシアがスゴーで2度のポールトゥーウィンを記録してランキングトップ。 GTC クラスでもビンゴレーシングが同じく2戦連続でポールトゥーウィンをマークしてランキング首位に立ちます。今回の富士大会はシリーズ過去最多の25台がエントリー。新たに84号車と935号車が日産 GTR、ニスの GT3 で戦います。
昨シーズンもエントリーしていたチーム大新 WithGT ネットは今年も帰ってきました。今大会は大八木隆一郎選手の単独参戦です。
GT3 クラスには合計3台の GTR に加えて GT4 クラスには15号車がポルシェ718ケイマン GT4RS クラブスポーツで参戦。 GTC クラスは合計6台がエントリーし、新たに16号車、27号車、83号車、そして94号車が加わります。
So a massive weekend coming up at Fuji, where both qualifying sessions and all 4 races are live on SRO's GT World YouTube channel.
さらに GT ワールドチャレンジアジアのライブ配信も日本語実況でお楽しみいただけます。
Japan Cup Race 1 coming on a little bit later this afternoon. but we're focusing our attention initially on the GT World Challenge Asia. This is where we sit after the first half of the season, with Prince Jeffrey Ibrahim 6 points ahead of Anthony Liu, Dorian Boccolacci, and the same applies to that silver pairing of Run Chunfan and Maxime Usend, with the 87 champions last year just a single point further back in third position. And plenty of other names further down in the championship order that can still make an impact, can still recover after the first half of the year outside of Japan. Now we have 2 rounds in Japan. The last race of the GT World Challenge as a whole was the global gold ribbon event at Spa-Francorchamps. The 24 hours of Spa-Francorchamps attracted a record grid of 75 cars as Aston Martin returned the trophy to the front of the field, having kept that at the Come To You Racing factory for the year. It was a difficult race for Aston Martin, and under beautiful skies the race began, but instantly there was trouble. The number 60 Lamborghini and 97 Porsche of Antares Au getting together. This was the main drama in the first couple of hours, a slow McLaren being rear-ended by Lauren Heinrich in a Porsche. Massive damage to both of those cars, but both drivers were okay. In the real spirit of endurance racing, so early on in the race as well, getting cars fixed after problems was the name of the game in the first few hours before sunset came in. Valentino Rossi, the MotoGP world champion, coming back to the 24 hours to rejoin the series as Aston Martin found barriers left, right and centre. I'm afraid a little bit of a sad event for the previous champions. Such was the festival atmosphere, fireworks firing overnight, as well as the electric music playing in the paddock areas. But on track, it was pretty metronomic. Not too many safety cars, not too many interruptions, and just pit stops hour after hour after hour. Trying to find yourself space, trying to establish some kind of advantage. Incredibly difficult when every single car is almost equal on pace. It was held on the very shortest night of the year, the Spa 24 Hours this year, and therefore not a very long night. Sunrise gave birth to intense fighting, because now, in the second day, it started to really mean something. And with those battles came contact, came squeezing, and came mistakes from drivers, because the heat of the weekend as well caused many mistakes and many cars to go around. The pole position, McLaren, the 59 car, began to struggle, but the 58 really starred. As Lamborghini continued to have issues. George Kurtz in the number 4 CrowdStrike Racing, who sponsored the event, found himself in all kinds of trouble, but the main focus was this battle for the gold category between Max Verstappen's Aston Martin machine and the 58 Garage 59 McLaren. Also Ferrari and BMW fighting over podium spots, but it started to show that the 63 and the 96 were the favourites to win the 24 hours for 2025. Lamborghini had never ever won the Spa 24 hours. Porsche, of course, had won a lot, but they had to come in for a last-minute puncture. Then the last pit stop for Lamborghini was a very worrying time. They thought the car would not get going again. The gap was very small and decreasing as the battle for third position continued right to the wire. BMW 998 getting past the Ferrari, but Mirko Bortolotti, who ended up passing out after taking victory, such was the effort that he put in, taking victory for Lamborghini, the very first victory for Lamborghini at the Spa 24 hours, and the emotions were evident to see. It was an intense 24 hours with very few respites, an incredibly hot 24 hours with temperatures up to 50 degrees, and therefore highly, highly deserved victory for Bortolotti and for Pepper and Luca Ensler, who you may well know as a Liqui Moly driver, joining that threesome on the top step of the podium. The festival was complete, but every single year the Spa 24 Hours continues to grow, and over 120,000 fans were able to enjoy this year's edition. Such a great party that never saw a single drop of rain. Amazing for Spa-Francorchamps. Points are awarded for 6 hours, 12 hours, and then 24, and it has put Mercedes only fractionally ahead of BMW in the global manufacturer standings. Porsche there and thereabouts as well. And as we come into this race in Asia, it really is anyone's to beat. We've got a long way still to go, with over half the season in Europe and half the season in Australia. Of course, America as well. But interesting to see just how close it is between those top 3 manufacturers. The grid starting to form on this 1.4 kilometer main straight here at Fuji, and a spectacular amount of fans also filling the grid. The pit walk was incredible earlier on, and now very, very clear to see just the interest in GT3 racing growing more and more. A huge thank you to Maezawa, Mr. Maezawa, supporting the SRO Hypercar Club with his own personal collection of 7 hypercars, including an Aston Martin Valkyrie in the bespoke black and grey, which just is out of this world beautiful. It's Koenigsegg's down there, there's Bugattis, the Mercedes AMG 1, and of course the obligatory Pagani Zonda. And they're not there just to have photos taken. You can get into the cars and really enjoy them. Still, we will see them on the track as well tomorrow as part of the Japan Cup. Over 50 cars between Japan Cup and GT World Challenge Asia, and that means over 100 drivers here. And they have all gathered at the front of the field of the grid of this first race to have a family photo. We see many family photos with the cars, but very rarely do we get the drivers as well. And it really is great to have such support. Always, in terms of grids, the Fuji race the most supported. They've got Super GT coming here in a few weeks' time for their sprint races, so valuable information for GT3 drivers to get themselves an opportunity to practice just beforehand. But really, it has become sort of the home of the GT World Challenge Asia, Fuji, with presence on the calendar for many, if not all, of the years that we've been racing here. Of course, in 2022, it was only Japanese racetracks on the GT World Challenge calendar, and therefore, with Suzuka dropping off GT World Challenge for this year's calendar because it's becoming the 1,000 kilometers, it does leave Fuji with the only circuit to feature on every single year of GT World Challenge Asia's calendar. Many of the Japan Cup drivers down there. There are the princes, Prince Jeffrey and Prince Abu Bakr. Rumour has it father is also here to watch, the King of Johor, and King of Malaysia now as well. but it's a huge thanks to the whole organising team that we have such entertainment from both Japan Cup and GT World Challenge Asia, such a high level as well, and ever growing. SRO just launched the GT4 Championship in China, the SRO GT Cup, with its qualification process to the Macau race at the end of the year, which of course is a World Cup for GT3 cars, and really established now over here in Asia. The Fuji circuit, built in 1963, has gone various iterations over the years, but the main focus point is that 1.4 kilometer start-finish straight. The circuit itself, 4.5 kilometers in length, and really the only change from the original, 87 version of the circuit is the final interval of the lap from turn 10 to turn 16.
K チューンズレーシングの福住二礼です。富士スピードウェイのオンボードを、見ていきたいなと思います。今ここ最終コーナーから立ち上がってきて、メインストレートなんですけども、ここのストレートがすごい長いせいで予選とかはブレーキ失敗しないかなとか、そういうのすごく、ドキドキしながら、ブレーキする感じです。この車だとだいたい 100m ちょい手前でブレーキ踏んで一足に落として、ここの出口がちゃんとうまく立ち上がらないとここのストレートスピードもロスしちゃうので、非常に出口も大事かなと思います。ここは、ハイスピードコーナーで、クリップがちょっと見えづらいんですけども、外側のトラックリミットがすごい気をつけないといけないですね。でここ 100R で、一番サーキットの中で速いコーナーかなと思います。でヘアピンがあって、ここの立ち上がりもすごく大事で、このストレートにストレートスピードがかなり響いちゃうので、予選とかはしっかりと立ち上がられるように意識しています。で B コーナーブレーキなんですけども、ブレーキの時かなりここバンピーでリアロックがあったりするので、その辺はちょっと気をつけて走ってるかなと思います。ここも13コーナー入り口はすごい跳ねるので、飛び込みすぎるとすぐにリアが失っちゃったりして、かなりトリッキーなコーナーかなと思います。でここの13コーナーは、先が若干見えづらいのと出口すごいタイトなので、トラックリミットを気をつけないといけない一つのコーナーかなと思います。でこの最終コーナーも進入大回りして、しっかりと立ち上がり意識しないと、このストレートをすごい、ロスしちゃうので、かなり立ち上がり重視のことを意識しないといけないサーキットなのかなという印象があります。
A big thanks to K-Tunes Racing and Niri Fukuzumi, who is part of the Japan Cup, for providing us our driver's eye. Japan Cup race coming later on today. We are focusing on GT World Challenge Asia, the #1 GT3 race in Asia.
So, Law, once again, congratulations on pole position this morning and afternoon. Here comes race one. How are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, qualifying we did a very good lap and very two clean laps, so that's why I'm on the pole position. So in the race, I want to be a safe start to keep the position and open the gap before the pit stop, and giving the car to Andy to finish the race. I think safe first.
With your big smile, I can feel some confidence. But are you confident with the race pace with the car today?
Yeah, for sure. We have a very good car this weekend because our team have a very good teamwork this weekend. We find a very good setup. So I think I'm not worried about the race pace. So let's see what happens on the race.
Okay, let's see then. Have a good race.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. それでは今お話しした内容ですね、日本語にちょっと通訳したいと思うんですけれども、本日ねポールポジションスタートの96号車なんですけれども、朝の走行から、昨日の走行から非常にパフォーマンスが良くて、そのパフォーマンスの良さがしっかりと予選で現れたというふうにおっしゃってたんですけれども、決勝のペースに対しても非常に自信を持っているようでした。この低い多分いつもよりちょっと低めの気温の富士スピードウェイの気温も、車に合ってるんじゃないかみたいな話も出てたので、この後のパフォーマンス期待していきたいと思います。Back to you.
Lukailu, definitely the class of the field in qualifying, set that time so early on as well to really establish himself over the rest of the silver runners. Don't forget that silver runners have an extra 7 seconds in the pits, and therefore they need to pull out that 7-second advantage over the Pro-Am category cars to be within a shot of taking victory. Easy-ish to do when they are against the AM competitors, as they will be for the first part of this race. But expect that lead then to decrease in the second half of the race when the pros jump into the cars. Let's go back down to Emily, and our champion from last year, Bob Wan, will start the 87 machine.
So Bob, starting from P3 today, looking back at Buriram, I'm sure it was a weekend that you would all want to forget about, but has it gone all to the past now?
Yeah, I mean, it's new race here, so I'm looking forward to this race. Yeah, I start from P3. I did a good job there in the quali Auto Leo P3, so really looking forward, and hopefully we got a good luck.
Look, and the performance looked really, really well.
Yeah, we try really hard, and yeah, so it shows performance. I'm really happy with that.
Yeah. We're happy for you too. Have a good race.
Thank you.
Thank you. では今の内容も、繰り返し日本語で通訳させていただきたいんですけれども、87号車第3戦の、ブリラムの、レースの時に非常にちょっと不運に見舞われまして、マシントラブルが非常に多かったんですよね。で、その第3戦の悔しさを晴らせるようなレースになりそうですかと伺ったところ、マシンもアップデートが進んでいるようで、あと今回この3番手スタートになるためにいつも以上にものすごくプッシュして頑張ったというふうにボブ選手ご本人も語っておりましたので、彼らの熱い走りに期待していきたいと思います。以上です。Back to you.
Bob Wan taking part in the Spa 24 hours a few weeks ago, came over to Spa and was part of that, not for the first time I don't think either, and really is one of the very best AM competitors sort of available if you need a bronze driver. Bob Wan is the man to sign up because, well, look, he's qualified ahead of 2 silver rated drivers on this grid and was in touch as well with the 2 silvers ahead of him. Driver rankings, if you aren't familiar, all drivers are graded bronze, silver, gold and platinum. For the sake of GT World Challenge Asia, gold and platinum drivers are considered pros, silvers are considered silvers, and AMs are the bronze drivers are AMs. And so we have a Pro-Am category, we have an AM category, we have a silver AM category, and we have a silver category. And it's very self-explanatory, really. If you are 2 silver drivers, then you are in the silver category and therefore on the pole position, because in this qualifying session, the AMs mainly qualified as well as the 4 silvers. Let's go back down to Emily.
So, Anthony, Fuji Speedway, it's not as hot as it usually is in this kind of season, but performance looking well. How's it been so far?
It's been wonderful. It's such an honor to race in such a beautiful place with such professional grid, and we're really excited to go racing. Hopefully I can make it past lap 1 without being spun around this time. Thank you.
And it's the middle of the season. Thinking about the championship, this race, I'm sure, is a very important one to you guys.
Every race is important, but I think BOP-wise for the Porsches in Fuji, it's damage limitation. Yeah.
Good luck to you. Thank you so much. では今の内容もまた再び通訳させていただきたいと思います。37号車なんですけれども、非常にねパフォーマンスが今回よくって、調子のところいかがですかと聞いたところ、富士スピードウェイというサーキットが本当にね素晴らしいサーキットで、こうして走行することができてまずすごく光栄ですというふうにおっしゃっておりました。でいつもより例年よりもね気温が低いことに対しても今のところポジティブに作用しているというようなお声もいただいております。さらにシーズンの中盤戦ということで、シリーズランキングを争う上では、非常に今回の順位っていうのも大切になってくるということで、 BOP 的にはもしかしたらポルシェちょっと不利になってしまうこともあるかもしれないんですけれども、精一杯頑張りたいというふうにおっしゃっておりました。以上です。 Back to you.
Anthony Liu, the winner, the last race that we had here in 2024. In fact, it was a Porsche whitewash last year with Bob Wan and Leo Ye winning race 1, and then Anthony Liu with Alessio Piccarello winning race 2. It was the first time that Porsche had ever won in Fuji. Before that, all other brands had taken victory here, but never Porsche. And it sounds as though, in terms of Anthony's opinions anyway, it is going to be a tricky one for Porsche again with the BOP he mentioned, balance of performance, where all of these different GT3 cars are completely different spec. If you imagine the shape of them, the amount of drag they create, the different engines in the car, where those engines are positioned in the car, means that if they were built to the absolute maximum performance that each car can do, then they would all be very, very different in terms of performance. And so, because this is a customer racing series, because this is a series whereby drivers and teams purchase cars and they want to race at a level playing field, we have a thing called BOP, which balances all the cars by adding weight to certain cars, by adding ride height restrictions to the different cars, which changes the amount of downforce they create, and also restricting the engine performance on some of the cars. And the idea is that they are fully balanced, but sometimes drivers mention that that they are at a disadvantage, which is not necessarily true.
So now I'd like to talk to one of our local heroes, Hamaguchi Hiroshi. Mr. Hamaguchi, Fuji Speedway, obviously Japan is your home race, it's your home course. How are you feeling racing in front of your home crowd?
Oh, it's definitely exciting. I mean, I haven't raced here for a few years. I've been racing in Europe, but lucky to be back home.
Are you confident to grab one of the podiums?
I hope so. I mean, I've never driven this car before, so this is my first weekend. We'll try my best and see how it goes.
Impressive performance so far. では日本語で同じ質問をちょっと伺わせていただきます。日本のファンも大勢いらっしゃっているので、富士スピードウェイも本国での開催ということでホーム戦になるかと思うんですけれど、意気込みのほどお聞かせいただけますでしょうか。
はい、日本でレースやるの久しぶりなんですけど、地元なんでいい成績残したいと思います。
熱い走り期待しております。頑張ってください。ありがとうございます。Back to you.
Very happy to have Hamaguchi with us this weekend. He's returning to the championship after 14 race starts previously. First time he'll be in a Ferrari. He's got Thierry Vermeulen alongside him as a teammate, so that is a car to watch, the 98. But it is his first time, as I say, in a Ferrari. Always been racing in Lamborghinis in Europe, and even in the European Le Mans Series, where he was champion in GT3 last year. So watch out for Hiroshi Hamaguchi. He starts the car. Anthony Liu and Alessio Piccarello in the number 4. Still question marks over whether they've solved this issue that they were put Alessio into the gravel in his qualifying session. A vibration, an imbalance in the car, and under braking, the car not feeling good at all. Alessio was pretty vocal when he came back to the garage, having put the car in the gravel trap. How difficult the car has been throughout the weekend. It's not just something that's happened for him. It's something that has obviously been occurring over the last couple of days. And Origin, the team that run that car, not getting to the bottom yet of what the issue is. Even Alessio, who, with all of his global experience, you would expect to be able to offer some kind of solution, didn't seem to have an answer. There's a look on board the number 18. Great to have Porsche Center Okazaki back. We've only had that car part season this year. Let's go back down to Emily, who's now with the Seoul Nissan in GT World Challenge Asia.
さあ走行直前ですけれども、ヒロボン選手、つい先ほどまで相方である金丸選手といろいろ相談とかもされていらっしゃいました。どのような話、最後の1分でされてたんでしょうか。
まあ、とりあえず1コーナー、ちょっと気をつけて、
いつもよりちょっと気温も低い富士ですけれども、そういったところ、何か影響はありそうですか。
まあ、気温低い分、ちょっと体的には楽かなっていうのもある。
じゃあポジティブに作用するように願っております。頑張ってください。
はい。
So I'll translate that in English. Hirobon was having a final discussion just before I started to interview with his partner Yu Kanemaru. He was just talking about Kanemaru was giving advice, be careful in turn 1, and about the temperature. Obviously this thing has been talked by a lot of drivers, but the temperature is lower than usually here in Japan, so that will affect maybe with the cars, but so far as a driver it's not affecting him physically. He's enjoying the cool heat and he's really looking forward for the race. Back to you.
This thick cloud cover is really keeping the heat away from us today. So as you can see, the background, there is no sign of Mount Fuji. And it is grey and kind of heavily grey, although actually I see some evidence of a little bit of blue heading down towards turn 1 in the sky. But tyre preservation, even a subject in qualifying, trying to get the best out of the tyres. And I think that is going to be aided a little bit by this 38 degrees track temperature. Still not too shabby, but preservation of the tyre all the way through to the end of this 1 hour race is going to be key. The Origin car is also slightly different in colour to how we are used to seeing it. It's gone from purple to blue. I don't know whether that's affecting the vibrations, but one other change of livery is the Phantom Global number 13, which was Red Bull Indonesia or Red Bull Japan colours when we were in Buriram, and that is now Moon Eye colour. And we'll see that no doubt on the circuit. The best of the AM category we're just looking at there. Ben Porter, 15th position for AMAC Motorsport. Nice little healthy fight going on in AM. Ben has the most starts of any driver on the grid. We have had 76 race starts. This will be the 77th, and Ben has started 64 of them. This will be his 65th. There's a look from the onboard of the number 500 of Hirobon and Yu Kanemaru. Very good double points weekend in Buriram. After difficulties elsewhere, they nearly took victory, didn't they, in Mandalika? Wouldn't have that been a big celebration? But unfortunately got turned around at the final corner, or the final couple of corners. And they are in the silver AM category. And in this first race, Silver Am's been dominated by the 89 BMW of Ruan Chunfan and Maxime Hussein. That car has scored points in every single race so far this year, but it starts way down the order, and it could be a bit of a struggle, that Silver Am pairing, to get themselves in such a high position. They missed out in Silver Am in both of the Buriram races, the victory. They beaten by others. Silver Am pole is Absolute Corsa then in the 29 machine. Pro-Am pole is Origin Motorsports. And then on the pole itself is Andy Dung and Lu Kai Lu. Also pole in silver, sharing that with the other silver drivers and championship leaders, Kong Fu Cheng. Championship leader in silver, I should say. They're not championship leaders overall. Row 2, Bob Wan starts alongside Prince Abubakar Ibrahim, who's taken victory here before. Brother Jeffrey is in 5th position, championship leader in Pro-Am and overall. Anthony Liu alongside him. And then it's the silver Am pole, Huang Ruhan in 7th and Liang Jiatong in 8th position. There's that Ferrari that I'm looking out for, the number 9th position for the number 98 alongside Rio, another of the silvers. Then Wei Lu 11th position and Tao Che in 12th spot. Mike Zhou lines up 13th for Climax Racing alongside Hirabon. And then it is the pole in Am, Ben Porter, 15th spot. That's one of the best qualifying we've seen out from him, with the 911 Porsche not looking like that. That's the last round's livery. There is that BMW, 17th position for the 89, alongside the number 60 LM Corsa Ferrari. It's now in Am. No Giancarlo Fisichella in that this weekend. Then there's the two Porsche Enter Okazaki cars on row 10. A new driver in the Audi number 48, Bian Ye in 21st. Yamaguchi, it's one of the better qualifyings from the Team Stude BMW. As we go further down the field, the Moon Eyes livery for Sun Jingsun in 25th. And then championship leader in Am, but only 3rd on the grid in Am, 27th, Vincenzo Rossi will start in 28th. That's a new name. Changwoo Lee, also a new name for Absolute Racing in 29th. And we say hello to Santosho. And then a problem for the number 55 win here, Harmony Racing Ferrari, means that they start at the tail of the field for both of the races. James Yu Kwai looks on with his mother. Watch that 55 car come through the field, because Liu Hangchen should be mid-pack in qualifying, so he's got a lot of work to do. We have 2 formation laps, as is part of the course now, across GT World Challenge. The second formation lap, the clock should start, although I notice on my timing screen it hasn't. But that might be because I haven't reset the timing screen. Let's have a look if that helps. No, it hasn't. Weird. In the JMR Johor Motorsports pit box, they've got pole position and a front row lockout for tomorrow's race 2. But they've in their stable, they've got 2 princes that have taken victories in previous years here. Prince Jeffrey in 22, Prince Abu Bakr in 23. And after a really, really difficult Spa 24 hours, they will be energized that they're in the situation they're in now, where they have 2 strong cars for the full weekend. There's Loris Spinelli. New livery for that Absolute car. Drove that with Henk Kicks last time out, and therefore it was a B-Quick livery machine. Now it's back to the Absolute Racing colours, but it starts right at the tail of the field there. Vincenzo Ricci not feeling very well, and a little bit off the pace. So not a massive amount of experience from either him or Brian Changwoo Lee, that Absolute have brought in alongside Daniel Liu. Yes, he's the Lamborghini Super Trofeo Am champion. It's the first time he's ever driven a GT3 car and a GT3 Porsche. Always tricky down into the tight hairpin at turn 1. It's very similar to the Hungaroring, for instance, in terms of its profile. A big stop after a big long straight. Always a pinch point, and everybody will be keeping their fingers crossed that we get through that first turn cleanly. Anthony Liu spoke about being turned around last year there. He won't want that to happen again. That's Thierry Vermeulen. Shares that 98 machine. The pros watching on as we get cars now lined up in that 2x2 formation. They must pass through the grid hatchings for a good, clean start, and they're all being pretty well behaved here, side by side. It all looks good. Wait for those lights to go off, and we are holding for a long, long time, but the start line is such a long way down here. And now we go racing. Wow, that was a long hold. Into turn one, everyone nicely bunched up. Lu Kai Lu moves across on Frankie Cheng to hold him to the outside. Nice and clean through the front 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows. It looks very, very good. And everyone, I think, has made it through. There's one car going a bit wide through turn 1 and coming back onto the circuit. Oh, and there is contact further back. Oosh! And big contact into the wall, and that's the 55 Ferrari and the 321 Porsche. And I'm afraid that is going to be at least a safety car, because they've gone into the Armco barrier, and that means big work for Absolute Racing, because it's 2 of their cars. Sorry, it's 1 of their cars. It's a Ferrari, isn't it? We are still racing at the head of the field, and Anthony Liu's got his elbows out, trying to force his way past a Corvette. The 77 of Jiatong Liang, looking down the inside of the Corvette now, trying to squeeze the Uno Racing Audi out of the way. There's a few cars on the grass behind. And there is the mess down there at the exit of turn 1. Both drivers out of the car. Safety car has been called. And now drivers will slow down and start behaving themselves, because there was real fighting, trying to change positions on those first couple of laps. And we'll get a good chance to see exactly what happened, but I'm afraid inexperience at the tail of the field there from Brian Lee, the Korean driver, who's really a driving force for Korean motorsport in total, and desperately trying to promote Korean motorsport. Last minute addition to that car as well, because the entry list we had on Monday had a different driver in the 321. Maybe a little bit too soon, too much too soon. And in fact, he had a penalty in qualifying, in pre-qualifying, for making contact with another car. And we'll have a look again when we have a chance, but that's a little bit of a shame. So the order then. First 4 didn't change, but Anthony Liu got himself up ahead of Prince Jeffrey, up to 5th. Jeffrey dropped down to 6th position. Liang Jiatong moved up to 7th, ahead of Rio, and it was a slow starting Juan Ruhan in the Lamborghini number 29 that dropped 2 spots down to 9th. Hirobon made a good start, and I'm afraid that man's car didn't make a good start, because Hiroshi Hamaguchi dropped 4 spots down to 13th. Another big loser, actually, and something to find out what happened, was the number 2 of Mike Joe. 8 positions lost on the first turn, first lap, in that Climax Mercedes. I think maybe he was one of those cars that we saw on the grass in turn 10. Ran Chun Fan also dropping to 20th spot, so the BMW not having a good time of things. Problem, you know, that's the exact problem of having a fast car at the tail of the field as well. Liu Hangcheng really wasn't supposed to be that far back. No qualifying time. He would have been mid-pack had they qualified. But I actually don't think it was particularly their fault. A single tyre awaits the number 98, which suggests that maybe Hiroshi Hamaguchi has had contact somewhere, and Absolute are a little bit concerned about maybe a puncture on that car. Trying to maybe on YouTube scroll back and have a look to see what happened to the car. I didn't see anything, but let's have a look at replays and see what we can see. Replay at the start then. It took a long time for us to go green, but when we did, nice and clean in the first couple of rows, and actually nice and clean through turn 1. Let's have a look right in the middle of the pack to see if there's any contact with that 98 car. It's just quite cautious on the apex of turn 1. Then through turn 2, we go with the lead car. No contact with the 98. Now look further back. Yeah, I'm afraid Brian Lee just cuts across the 55. There's absolutely nothing that the 55 can do there. I don't know whether Brian Lee was already slightly sliding, whether he had already lost control of the car, but that's not a good look, I'm afraid. And a real disappointment for Daniel Liu, who has had a difficult start to the year. Different teammate for this weekend in that Absolute Porsche. He was an absolute star in around COVID time. Porsche Carrera Cup champion, one of the most successful and youngest Porsche Carrera Cup champions ever. And the youngest ever Porsche Junior. And since coming back, I'm afraid, not showing that same level. And he's not going to have a chance to show any level in this first race. Tyres being left out on the apron for a reason. No tyre warmers allowed in the championship. If they were in the garage or behind the garage, they would not be in the sun, and therefore they would not be exposed to the UV and the heat that brings them up to temperature a little bit. I should point out, by the way, that the Brian Changwoo Lee in the 321, not the same as the Brian Lee that we've previously had in the championship from Chinese Taipei. This one is from Korea. And in fact, we also have Brian Lee racing this weekend from Chinese Taipei in the number 10. So let's not mix the two up. Where is Brian? So Chinese Taipei Brian Lee is in 25th position. And Brian Changwoo Lee from Korea is out of the race. Back to racing then, safety car in, and we are back to green flag. A little bit of defensive going on further back with Brian Lee, in fact, and he's going to lose a position there. The number 10 machine I don't know if that's Vincenzo Ricci trying to get past him. But nice and clean at the head of the field. And Anthony Liu trying to hunt down another Corvette. He's already got past Prince Jeffrey, and now he wants to try and get past Prince Abu Bakar. Perhaps has got a better car under him since we go back to green flag. And Prince Abu Bakar here is having to be rather defensive, and that's not going to help him. Bob Wan on the tail of Chen Kung Fu ahead. No way through yet, and Anthony Liu doing a really good job of properly hassling Prince Abu Bakar here. A reminder, this is the 66 Chevrolet rather than the 99 that leads the championship. The 99 is the second, and now they go side by side, but the next corner goes to the right, and so the 66 should have the inside line and holds Anthony Liu to the outside. Change of position behind as well as Liang Jiatong gets past Prince Jeffrey. So Corvette's not looking great in this first lap after the restart. Now, what about the comparable top speeds of the two? Anthony Liu in the slipstream. Looks really, really close. Looks like he can do a dive as Rio does a dive down the inside, and that's another position lost for the leading JMR car. And I reckon they might lose another one with the second place car as well, as Rio looks to the outside now at the next corner. Going to have to go all the way around the outside. Chaiton Liang has already done so, and now they've managed to make that one stick. So, and Anthony Liu's lost that position again. Okay, so it wasn't completely completed. This time goes down the inside, and again side by side. Prince Abubakar managed to get him on the exit, the drive off the turn, and he's kind of done the same thing again, hasn't he? At turn 4. This battling is going to invite Liang Chaitong to the party. Worth saying that Liang is the silver driver in this 3-car battle. Rio is also a silver driver, so in theory should be more performant. And now looks to the inside, got a really nice exit in that Mercedes, but it's a bit fiddly around this last part of the lap to try and make a move done. And from being on the attack, Anthony Liu is now very much on the defence. Down into the final turn. Liang Chaitong holds that nice tight inside line. It really does compromise you off the turn. And so whilst the pass has been done now, Anthony Liu is going to be crawling all over the back of the rear wing of that Mercedes. And Rio is going to join the party as well in that pink Audi. All of this to the detriment of Prince Jeffrey, who drops now down to 8th position. The front 3 are away. Prince Abubakar with a little bit of breathing space, and here comes Anthony Liu down the inside once more. Can he make it stick? Yes, he can, but he runs deep. That might allow the Mercedes with a little bit more drive to come back at him, as the Chevrolet did one lap ago. Further back, there's a bit of squabbling going on as Hang Ruan defends from Lu Wei and Hirobon. Unsurprisingly, race control investigating that corner 1 crash. Some thoughts that perhaps the Ferrari shouldn't have been on the grass on the inside. Well, I'm going to say that that's him passing. Let's see what race control think. Silver battle here for 3rd in silver. All of this, though, means that they're not attacking Anthony Liu or Prince Abubakar. 1st and 2nd are silver cars. We've only got 4 in the field, and there are the other 2. At the sharp end of the field, as you would expect. A reminder, we've got AM drivers in all of the cars until the pit window opens at 25 minutes, 10 minutes. Having to go defensive again. The number 66. This time might get dive bombed by Anthony Liu. Down the inside. It's almost a slightly better way of doing things, to be a bit more aggressive, but hasn't quite had the overlap to make that one stick on Prince Abubakar. Meanwhile, his brother slipping further and further down. Remember, they also have to serve 15 extra seconds in the pits for winning that last race in Buriram, and so that doesn't look good at all for the 99. Fastest lap of the race to Anthony Liu. A little bit of clean air on that last lap. And towed back onto the tail of the Chevrolet Corvette. Z06 version. Corvette previously a victor here in Fuji, but that was the previously built version of the Callaway built version of the Chevrolet Corvette, whereas this one built by Pratt & Miller, who for a long time have run Corvettes based out in America. So this is 9th position, and this is Huan Ruhan, Lu Wei behind him. Then you've got Hirobon there in the Nissan being hassled by Tao Che in 12th position. Hamaguchi, Ben Porter holding on there in 14th spot. And then Wang Zhongwei. No progress from Ren Chun Fan in the 89 BMW, still down in 18th spot. Also Mike Zhou down in 22nd spot. Lu Wei to the outside of the Lamborghini. Can he sweep all the way around the outside? No. Wang Rohan just bleeding off the brake just to keep that track position, keep the inside line. It's a bit of a queue of cars, isn't it, for ninth position behind Wang Rohan. Already the track limit warnings start pinging in. 3 track limit warnings, then you'll get yourself a black and white flag, then you could get yourself a penalty. You saw just how many laps were deleted in qualifying and pre-qualifying. As we saw on our driver's eye, exits are important here. So just opening the steering wheel and allowing the car to drive off the turn, opening the corner up a little bit, is hugely beneficial. But if race control see it, then they ping you. Just 5 minutes more of this first chunk before we get the drivers changed around. We'll see all of our AM competitors come in as soon as they can in 5 minutes time at the opening of the pit window. The silver drivers may not, though. For the likes of Liang and Rio, I think I'd be bringing them in as they're stuck in that little pack. Certainly if the second silver driver can do a better job, but for the front two, they've got clear track ahead of them. Lu Kai Lu is 2 seconds up the road of Frankie Cheng. But yeah, I'd be getting Rio particularly out of that position there, stuffed up behind the Mercedes. Give the car to Sean Tong. Hopefully get some track space. Although you are going to be pitting with everybody else. So there won't be much space for long. And actually, space might open up for you because everybody else will pit. So if I'm going to go back on my comment and say the 77 should stay out, but maybe Rio could come in earlier. Liu's back onto the tail of Prince Abubakar Ibrahim here. Still got 5 minutes before the pros are going to be brought into those cars, and then it all kicks off. Love seeing the pros in the second half of the race, because when they're in the first half of the race, they kind of are in preservation mode. They need to make sure the car is good for their AM driver. But in the second half of this race, they just go at it. Jordan Love gets himself prepared in the garage to take over from Prince Ibrahim. There's Dorian Boccolacci getting himself ready, rather annoyed at himself for his qualifying performance this morning, and will be making amends. He's got his AM driver giving him a car in a really strong position in 5th spot. And the advantage is not really there at the moment for our 2 silvers. So just a reminder that the 2 silvers will have to spend an extra 7 seconds in the pit box because they're a silver pairing. And that will mean Lu Kai Lu is going to drop down to behind Bob Wan and Leo Ye. And the 87 is going to inherit the lead for sure. I think Frankie Cheng giving James Yu Kwai a car that will then drop almost a 7th or 8th spot. But it's a big queue here, and that may all change by the time we open the pits, because Prince Abubakar is really struggling. And once again, the number 77 silver is all over the back of Anthony Liu, who in turn is being held up, I think he would suggest, by Prince Abubakar. His fastest lap of 40.1. He's down in the 41.3s now. Further back, some recovering cars, including the number 2 there, of Mike Joe, now in 21st position. And Ruan Chun-Fan in the 89 BMW up to 17th spot, so 1 position gained. But here comes the 46 of Bian Ye, previous winner. Both these two actually previous winners. Mike Joe in the silver Mercedes. Battle for 21st position, would you believe? Long way off the points after a disastrous first lap from Mike Joe. And also in there, Kirong Li, Chinese-Canadian driver who's raced mainly in Lamborghinis, but this year with Anders Forbach in that Porsche. Mingwang Han, the last of the cars, the second Korean driver, or should we say the first Korean driver in the field, because we've had Mingwang with us all year long. And Dan Arrow is going to have a lot of fun being given that car in 24th position, because he's going to have progress to be made. And I'm sure he will easily do it. That's second in AM, by the way, the number 60. That's the car that Fisichella drove in the early part of the year, but unavailable for this round. So Kei Nakashini back aboard that car, and that means that it's an AM. Good start for Yamaguchi in the BMW that we really very see little of, the Team Stude BMW. He shares with Seiji Ara. Unfortunately, just hasn't really registered. Into the pits, right on the edge, and this could be a bit too early for Cao Chi by maybe a second. Oh, wow, pit lane open just as he got to the pit lane line. That was incredibly tight for Cao Chi. Don't know why he needed to do that. But he's going to be handing that car over to Jaden Ojeda. And from 16th position onwards, because of the way the window is open, the rest of the field now start to flood in. Marcus Finkelhock will take over the number 46 machine there. There he is. He's had a torrid year, has Marcus Finkelhock, the Audi Works driver. Just 2 point scoring finishes to the GT1 world champion driver. Has taken victory in the past. And in Bian Ye was being expecting to have a slightly better performance, I would have imagined. Pit stops need to be 90 seconds, don't forget. As fastest lap now to the 96 of Lukai Lu. As I say, these are silver drivers, so these two unlikely to come into the pits that early, although it did look as though the Audi might have been coming into pit lane already. So Frankie Cheng potentially wanting to already hand over to James Yu, and he does. Maybe this is to cover off Bob Wan, although he's not going to be able to do that because it'll be 7 seconds longer for the 45 than it will be for the 87. So that 87 car is going to inherit the lead when it all shakes out. Into the pits for the 66 machine. The better of the two Corvettes in this race. Prince Abubakar handing over to Jordan Love. No success compensation for the 66. It's the 99 that needs to spend much longer in the pits. And for the moment, the 99 not... so it has made his stop, yeah. So about 4 or 5 cars still not stopped. There's Anthony Liu. Oh, and Anthony Liu is one car that hasn't stopped. Okay. The two silvers behind, they haven't come into pits either. Rio now ahead of Liang Jiaitong. And they've found themselves caught behind Jaden Ojeda. Oh, and down the inside. That was a bit of a late lunge from Jiaitong Liang. Thankfully, no contact between the two silvers. So we've got 3 silvers, Ben Porter staying out, and Ben Porter will stay out right to the end of the window, as we have seen. Also, the number 5 hasn't come into the pits, according to the tower on the left-hand side. So Yamaguchi staying aboard. That's logical, I suppose. But interesting that Anthony Liu deciding not to come in straight away and to have a couple of laps of free air before handing over to Dorian Boccolacci. Let's see how this all shakes out. We're still yet to have the Ferrari 96 into pit lane. And that Ferrari should regain the lead. No, we worked out the maths would probably put Leo Ye in the lead of the race, I think. Just waiting for the timing tower to fully sort itself out. But Leo Ye should have jumped James Yu, which it looks like has happened on the left-hand side. Lots of squabbling going on as cars come back out onto circuit. Is that the 46 of Marcus Finkelhock? Yes, it is. Already making some efforts to go down the inside of the 18. Already got past the 89, so that's Maxime Hussein, 2 BMWs together. And this is the entertaining bit. This is where we've got the pros out of position, fighting their way through. Drive-through penalty. Why drive-through penalty for car 37? What did Anthony Liu do? That's an absolute disaster for a car that looked like it could win this race. Why? Track limits? No. TL there, track limits. Anthony Liu has been too greedy all the way through that first stint. And Boccolacci is now going to be put to the tail of the field. Ah, horrible news for the 37 and for Phantom Global Racing. Here's the leader then. Lu Kai Lu is going to hand over to Andy Dung. And he should be able to get out, with my maths, ahead of the 87, maybe. So need to keep an eye out for anybody who might have gone a little short on their pit stops. This is always the slightly chaotic bit when everybody's making their pit stops. We've still got 4 minutes left on the pit stop window. We think that is the leader once the other cars have come into the pits, the 87. Let's see how he fares against the 96. 7 extra seconds. So this whole pit in to pit out needs to be 97 seconds versus the 90 seconds on the 87. Through the final turn for Leo Ye Honli and down the main straight. The 96 is rolling, but the 96 is rolling at 50 kilometers an hour, whereas the Porsche is more like at 200 kilometers an hour. Have those extra couple of laps helped the Ferrari enough? It's going to be very, very close, but the momentum is good for Porsche, and Leo Ye takes the lead of the race. But I tell you what, we've got a fight on our hands in the second half. What can Andy Dung do? Dung Yi versus Leo Ye. Leo Ye, Dung Yi. Last the cars then, into the pit. Rio handing over to Sean Thong. And Jiatong Liang is going to hand over to Daryl O'Young. Great to have Daryl back in the championship. The owner of Craft Bamboo Racing. The drive-through penalty being served by Dorian Boccolacci. Oh, horrible. It's going to be right at the tail of the field, I think. We'll wait for the timing screens to fully sort itself out, but it's going to fall off that top page by the looks of things. Fighting further back, Wakasaka and Anders Forbach, the owner of High Class Racing. They are fighting over something like 21st position. But watch out for some entertainment at the tail of the field. Loris Spinelli is going to be in the number 19 Lamborghini. He is last at the moment. We've also got Ralph Aron and Nico Menzel down at the very tail of the field. Those guys are going to be pushing their way through. We've already seen Max Hussein and Marcus Finkelhock from 20th and 19th pushing their way through. And the 99, gosh, the 99, after the 15-second penalty, is down in 17th spot. Ben Green has got mammoth work to do. Here comes Ben Porter heading to pit lane. Could have maybe squeezed another lap out of it, but it would have been incredibly tight. And he'll be handing over to Andrew McPherson and hoping that Andrew can hold on for the victory. Right, that's now all the pit stops basically done. Just waiting for the two silver cars to come back out onto circuit, and then we can get ourselves re-established with the order. And who's in what car, of course. There is the 99 of Ben Green. And just trying to see if I can see him. Yeah, 14th spot on the left-hand side. And that's how much those 15 seconds really being hurted. Ben Porter gets out of the AMAC Motorsport Porsche. Disappointment, I think, down at JMR, because it was looking very, very strong. And now the 66 sitting in 6th position, although I think that's going to end up being 4th spot. So that's not too bad, but our championship leader, the 99 car, is going to be in 12th and out of the points. Right, so over the line then. Leo Ye leads. There's the gap between himself and Andy Dung. Dung Yi in 2nd position. Then James Yu in 3rd. Okay, 66 is Jordan Love 4th. Alessio Piccarello in the number 4 in 5th position. Then a gap, and it's in the 29, Akish Nandi coming through shot. And look, these two silver, the 77 silver car coming back out onto circuit, right with Andy McPherson. So has that been a slow stop? Yes, of course it's been a slow stop. For the silver, and Marcus Winkelholt gets squeezed by Seiji Ara. And in fact, not much progress being made by Maxime Hussein either. Hussein's got ahead of both of them as 4 back looks to try and squeeze down the inside of the number 18 at the back of shot there. Side by side. It still goes side by side. Wherever you look, there is action. Here's our leader, though. Dung Ye in 2nd spot. But remember, Leo Ye was a silver last year, but he's now a pro. And so the driver grading suggesting that Leo Ye should be able to get away from Andy Dung in 2nd position. But Dung leading silver, a couple, well, not even 2 seconds ahead of James Yu, the 2nd of the silvers. And then this battle for 4th position. Alessio Piccarello trying to make amends for putting the car in the gravel this morning. On the tail of Jordan Love. Looks to the inside, goes very, almost invisible when you do that. You're going so far away from the mirrors, and Piccarello, much like we saw last year, going side by side. It was a great lap-long battle last year, and we're going to have the same thing again. Piccarello to the outside of Jordan Love. Love forcing him off the circuit. And move done, but was that move done off track? And was that Piccarello's fault, or was that Jordan Love with slightly spiky elbows? Again, track limits just as he creeps over the white line. These pro drivers really shouldn't be picking up track limits penalties. And the 37 has got a 2-second stop-go penalty for a short pit stop as well. Anthony Liu is going to be a pretty angry man. Because not only, okay, it's on him for track limits, but it's on the team for a 2-second short pit stop. And that is a no score for Boccolacci. He might as well park it. Unless we get a late race safety car where he can start making progress up through the field, he is going to be miles off the tail. Chevrolet drivers looking on. It's not looking quite as rosy as it did this morning. Love down to 5th. Piccarello up to 4th. Now we'll be making some progress on the 2 silver drivers ahead of him. That 4-car victory in race 2 in Mandalika, but only one other podium to its name in Buriram in race 1. 6th in the championship for Lu Wei. Would love a good result for Piccarello, from Piccarello. As we now go down into 22nd position. And the Porsche Center Okazaki, number 18 of Kotaka now aboard that car. He'll be looking at his mirrors because he'll have Nico Menzel and Ralph Aron filling them soon, I imagine. Ben Green has made up some progress. He's up to 12th position in the number 99, having overtaken Daryl O'Young on the last lap. So as expected, progress being made. In fact, Kotaka there has lost 2 positions on that last lap. So it's going away from him. And there is Andy Dung. What's the gap now? Was 7.4 seconds the last time we checked. There'll be frantic calls from the pit wall. Keep car on track. No track limit infringements. Second warning for car 13. Second warning for car 96. That's Andy Dung. Second warning already. He's 8.2 seconds back. But you are going to have to be so careful here. And we saw in, was it Mandalika or Buriram? I can't remember. We had an interview with one of the drivers, and they were saying, I just have to be so careful about not coming off the circuit, not having track limit infringements, because it's so easy. Max Hussein down the inside of Dan Arrow. That is for 14th spot. Being followed by Daryl O'Young there in the 77. And just in the back is shot Marcus Finkelhock. So Hussein doing what Hussein does in these stints. It's 5th in Silverham at the moment. Sorry, 4th now. He's got past Dan Arrow. And it will be a podium in Silverham if he can get past the Porsche up ahead. Tsubasa Kondo driving that car right now. But I'm surprised to see Dan Arrow dropping quite so quickly. Looking further back, here comes Ralph Aron down the inside of Andrew McPherson. But McPherson in the AM category still has a mammoth advantage over the second in AM. Actually, no, that's a complete lie. He's about to lose the lead in AM, hasn't he? As down the inside goes Piccarello on James Yu. That's up to 3rd overall then for the blue and black Porsche. And there is an investigation for that pass around the outside of Ben Green here, off track. Don't know what they can do. Michael Verges is the driving standards advisor this weekend here, and he'll be looking to see whether there was anything that Piccarello could have done. It's the problem about having these big tarmac runoff areas. So on that last lap, Andy McPherson did lose the AM lead. I was just trying to work out what had happened, but Waki Saka in the number 60 Ferrari did manage to get ahead of Andrew McPherson. So all of that good work from Ben Porter unfortunately undone. Back to the head of the field. Gap increasing. Dorian Boccolacci for Phantom Global Racing. So there's 2 Porsches, but 2 different teams there. Origin running the 87 car. Boccolacci being run by Phantom Global. And that shows just how much time Dorian's lost. He's a full lap back. Now, he needs to get past Leo Ye, just in case we get a safety car. which will bunch the field up. At least he will then get all the way round. If he stays where he is there, he will not benefit. As Picarello moves around in the mirrors of Andy Dung. Nissan flags on the right-hand side flying for Go Jigen. Not bad. Yu Kanemaru up to 7th position, and looking like we might see a change for the lead in Silver Ram. There's 3rd in Silver Ram, the number 25. At the moment, still ahead of Maxime Hussein. Five-second time penalty for this. Car 4 has been given 5-second time penalty for overtaking around the outside off track. Now, our low camera doesn't make it particularly clear. We kind of wanted to go, if we were going to that shot earlier, we would have seen just how much space that Ben Green gave. But to be honest, that's a little bit, seems to be a tough one, that one, because Ben Green, I imagine, was, as he goes past Sean Tong there, not giving very much room. Sorry, it was Jordan Love, wasn't it? Jordan Love not giving very much room to Picarello. Either way, 5-second penalty. Picarello needs to build a little bit of a gap now. He's got the fastest lap of the race. He's crawling all over the back of Dung Yi in the Ferrari. In fact, he's already got past him because he's up into 2nd spot now. That's 2nd, that's 3rd, that's 4th, that's 5th. All together, Dung Yi still leading silver, but he's got James Yu Kwai all over the back of him as well. That is the battle for silver 1st position and for the final spot on the podium. We've only seen that Ferrari once on the podium in race 1 in Buriram, as Darrell Young goes side by side with another team owner. The battle of the team owners, Craft Bamboo versus High Class Racing. Although, to be fair, Anders Fullback racing for Origin this weekend in this car, even though he is the owner of High Class Racing. And he slides past Darrell Young, who's making a return to the championship as a silver driver, but unfortunately not quite the pace of Daniel Frost, who he is subbing in for. And Darrell now 4th in silver, the last of the silver cars. I don't think the story is going to be over yet. With all of these track limit warnings coming through, we've got 13.5 minutes still remaining, and I wonder whether we might see a few more penalties being handed out. Track limits, a drive-through penalty for track limit infringements for the 37 means that everybody else will also get the same penalty if they exceed their track limits. Yi 10 seconds ahead of Picarello, who's only 1.6 ahead of this lot at the moment, but has that 5-second penalty. But I imagine he continue to drive away. On the last lap, he took 0.3 of a second out of Leo Ye. So it's going to be a tall order for Picarello to win this. But it does look like, once again, Bob Wan and Leo Ye are going to be winners in race 1 in Fuji, exactly the same as what they did last year. And that will help them in that championship fight, where they sit 4th right now. They are our champions from last year. They were Silver Am last year. They're Pro Am this year. And Leo Ye proving that that's kind of a good call, because there are not many drivers in the 39s. Max Hussein, 39.8 down in 14th spot. Picarello and Leo Ye. And that's pretty much it. Boccolacci also in the 39s. But even Loris Spinelli is outside of that in clear air. Further back, Ralph Aaron really hasn't made very much progress. Side by side with Nico Menzel. Would you believe that Nico Menzel and Ralph Aaron are fighting over 23rd position and getting a little bit physical between the two of them? Nico running Ralph without completely no track left. That was very rude, but I suppose they're racing drivers. Considering they're racing for 23rd position, perhaps a little bit unnecessary. Down the inside, Jordan Love goes on James Yu Kwai. Doesn't change the order for silver, but it does mean an overall fight and gets it done. Finally, a good showing from the 66 that has had all of the bad luck. Hardly scored any points this year, and finally they're getting a result. 8th position was their best so far this year in the second race in Mandalika, but now they are 4th. And if Jordan Love can put some pressure on Picarello, he may be able to take 3rd as well. He can't hang out with these silver drivers. He needs to get past Andy Dung. Ten laps remaining. Leo Ye leads Alessio Picarello, but Picarello has a penalty, and if the race ended now, he would drop behind Andy Dung and Yu Kwai and Jordan Love. And he needs to be more and more careful because there's track limit warnings coming his way as well. Then it's Akish Nandi who's leading Silveram in 6th position. Patrick Pilet 7th. Yukan Amaru 8th, 2nd in Silveram. 9th Thierry Vermeulen in that 98 car that was my kind of tip, but lost a bit too much time in early doors. Patrick Pilet looks to the inside of Akish Nandi. Kind of half a move there. And we've just had a change for 3rd in Silveram, with Max Hussein now ahead of Tsubasa Kondo. That's important in Silveram, but it's a bad day at the office for the BMW generally, that has picked up decent points every single race so far. Hasn't been out of the top 10, and this could be the first time. Oh, clumsy contact between Daryl O'Young and Wakisaka in the number 60. That's allowed the 18 to slide through as well of Kodaka. So rather long queue of cars down behind what was Daryl O'Young, 19th position. And Daryl, who raced in GT4 at the Pingtang SRO GT Cup, what was that, 2 weekends ago, finding it's not going too well for him in a GT3 car. Menzel and Aaron back with each other again. 96 is in the pits. Why is 96 in the pits? 29 with a 5-second penalty for track infringement, but our leader in silver is doing a drive-through penalty. Have we missed that? 29 is a drive-through penalty, but in comes 96, and what are they going to do here? Front right puncture? Black and white flag, a warning a minute ago. That's just a warning for track limits, but I think that was a front right puncture for Andy Dung. They've only changed the front right wheel, and that is a disaster for him, quite frankly. Right up there in the fight for the lead of the race all the way through. The luck just never with that 96 Ferrari. Meanwhile, Ojeda and Ben Green go fighting. This is for the last point. Well, it was for the last point, but actually, I think now they will be for 9th and 10th position. Ojeda in the 31, Ben Green in the 99. Yeah, and then 9th and 10th now, because the 96 Ferrari, has dropped further back. The 37 is in pit lane as well. Doran Boccolacci maybe retiring the car. Just trundled past me. But the 5-second time penalty for pit lane infringement for the 29 machine means that that's our Silver Am leader and may put Yu Kanemaru in the Nissan to the top of Silver Am because they're so close to each other. Continuing to fight side by side. Ben Green being squeezed this time by Jaden Ojeda. And it's all kicking off. As I said, we've still got all these penalties to come. Boccolacci out the car. And I wonder whether that's just, what's the point? We're 1 lap behind. There's only 5 minutes remaining. There's nothing more that we can do here. There's going to be a lot of frustration at Phantom Global Racing for that result. Boccolacci hasn't qualified well either for race 2. So this could be a significant turning point at the championship. Also because Leo Ye is leading our race, healthily ahead of this car, the number 4, who's now got his 5-second gap over Jordan Love. Love needs to keep pushing because it's only just. It's 5.074 right now. But this is great news for the 87 because none of the championship contenders are scoring any points. All of them are kind of nowhere as Andrew McPherson gets himself lapped. Over the line this time, Picarello versus Love, 5.3. So that is still in the favour of Picarello. And now the leader in silver, James Yu Kwai, being handed the win, being handed the lead. And now with no silvers around him, he can cruise to the finish. Silver Am will be being led by Yu Kanemaru. Akish Nandi is still healthily enough ahead of Maxime Hussein not to lose second in Silver Am. But as I say, the story's not over yet. 4.5 minutes remaining. Track limit infringements pinging in all the time. And there are still twists and turns to be had here. Hussein may well continue that trend of the BMW always being in the points because he's just got past Sean Thong and he's now in 11th position. 5 seconds back from Ojeda and Ben Green. Could be a tough one. Jordan Love there. This will be Jordan's first podium in GT World Challenge on his 9th start. There's Patrick Pilet, who, they didn't qualify very well. And so Pilet up 11 spots. Where's Dan Arrow? He's 14th, so he's also made up huge amounts of progress. Picarello too. Of course, I think that is based upon the car rather than the driver. So it's not just Patrick Pilet who's made up all that progress, it is also teammate too. So there's Pilet in 5th, gap to Nandi 6th, little gap to Kanemaru, and Vermeulen all over the back of Kanemaru. Kanemaru would be wise to let him go here because at the moment Kanemaru leads Silver Am and he does not need to be turned around like we saw in Mandalika. That Nissan missing out on an overall victory because of contact. Whoa, hello. Oh no, so they are on the racetrack. I thought they were off track there. And the more that Yu Kanemaru focuses on defending the Ferrari, the more he's losing touch with Akish Nandi here. It does not need to give Nandi 5 seconds. Behind this lot, Ben Green 4.6 seconds now. Ojeda dropped back from him, 1.7 back, then Hussein 2.9 back. And Kondo may lose a position to Arrow as well for 13th spot, but it's kind of 4th in Silver Am and 13th overall. It doesn't matter much. Down the inside, Thierry Vermeulen goes. Hasn't quite managed to make that one stick. Now let's see the grunt and versus slipstream of the Ferrari. The Ferrari almost disappears behind the Nissan Nismo down the main straight here. Look at the shudder on the rear wing of the Ferrari, all the turbulent air coming off the Nissan. And even with that mammoth slipstream, top speed of the Nissan still good, so the Ferrari is nowhere near into the braking zone, but Yuka Amari goes a little bit deep into turn one. We go on board with him, he keeps the car on the circuit, but where's the Ferrari? It's to its right-hand side. Next corner is a left-hander. It doesn't really matter this fight. Yuka Amari needs to let him go, because now the gap has grown to Akish Nandi. It's going to be another good result for the Absolute Ferrari. Best of the Absolute cars would be James Uquai's Phantom, isn't he? So he is the best of the Absolute. No, Patrick Pilet is the best of the Absolute cars. The 911. 30 seconds remaining. Over the line to begin his last lap. Fight at the bottom of screen there in AM, as Andrew Bentley fights with Christian Colombo for second in AM. They've both been passed by Loris Spinelli now, who is having fun all on his own. Picarello over the line, Jordan Love over the line, 7 seconds now the gap. So it looks like Picarello will hold on to that second spot. And just trying to pick up Thierry Vermeulen again to see if he can have a go at Yuka Amaru. He cannot. No changes there. There's Max Hussein, who's just going to run out of laps to attack Jaden Ajeda and get himself into the top 10 positions. He's going to have to rely upon race control for any penalties to continue that BMW being in overall points. Car into the pits there. I think that is our leader in AM. It is. The Ferrari from the lead of AM comes into the pits, and all of a sudden that battle that we were looking at going into turn one between Christian Colombo and Andrew Bentley becomes the battle for the lead. Disaster for LM Corsa. Oh, horrible. Meanwhile, here's Leo Ye, who's done absolutely nothing wrong. There's that battle for the lead in AM now. Christian Colombo all over the tail of Andrew Bentley. Bentley back in that car because Martin Berry is racing in Sao Paulo this weekend as an AM. And the checkered flag falls for Leo Ye. He takes victory. The third victory of the season for the 87 machine, and sharing that with Bob Wan, and suddenly their championship comes alight once again. Jordan Love on the podium, the first podium of the year for the 66 with Prince Abu Bakar. And Lu Wei and Alessio Picarello also on the podium, second position, as we pick up the winner in Silver Am, the Nissan, yay, 500, sixth position. Akish Nandi holds on to second in class. And then the winner in silver, James Yu Kwai. So basically we're waiting for the battle in AM. Still battling going on, three Porsches pushing each other along here down the main straight at the tail of the field. But where is Andrew Bentley and Christian Colombo? Because they only just, we were watching them start their lap just ahead of Leo Ye. Nearly missed the, got so excited by it that we nearly missed the flag, or I did anyway. Round the final turn, here comes Andrew Bentley. He's held on from big pressure from Christian Colombo. Christian Colombo is the head coach at Ferrari XX, so that is a stonking drive from Andrew Bentley, who doesn't have a lot of GT3 experience to his name. And he takes the second victory in AM for Earl Baumer Motorsport. With just the one car here this weekend, There's some pretty hard luck stories in the paddock after that one, particularly Dorian Boccolacci, Wakisaka in the 60 Ferrari and the 96 of Lukai Lu and Deng Yi. But perfectly executed, as Origin always do, as Porsche always do. And guess what? That is Porsche's 20th victory overall in GT World Challenge Asia's history. They moved to within one of Mercedes, who have the record. It's been a car that has become the popular car over the last couple of years, the preference moving away from the comfortable Mercedes platform. And the 87 Porsche, as a Silver Am champion and champion overall last year, now as a Pro-Am with 3 victories to his name. And I tell you what, you do not win many more in a year than 3. History says that. Anthony Liu won 3 back in 2023 on course for victory, but nobody had won more in a year. And so that is big for Bob Wan and Liu Ye. It also means Bob Wan and Liu Ye equal Anthony Liu as the most winning drivers in this championship, with 6 apiece. And embraces down there in Parc Ferme. Good work from James Yu Kwai. Always a hard task for him, going up along all the pro drivers as a silver. Gets a chance to compare himself with the very best, and it can be slightly disheartening at times. Especially when you've got an experienced driver like Frankie Cheng alongside you. But he did a good job, James Yu Kwai. 4th position and winning silver. There's Jordan Love. In the end, just 2.3 seconds back from Alessio Piccarello. That'll be disappointing that he didn't snatch that 2nd position from Piccarello in the end, but still, 3rd spot and on the podium is good enough. Let's go down to Emily.
So a massive congratulations to both of you, and you called your other teammates. It is a happy day for Origin Sports. So first of all, to the winners, overall winners, how was your lap? It was an amazing lap for our point of view, but how was it driving it?
It's nice to drive alone. It's a shame I can't see the Fuji mountain, otherwise it's perfect. Yeah, my teammate gave me the car in P1 again, so I just bring it back home. Easy.
A great teamwork.
Thank you.
And Bob?
Yeah.
You had an unfortunate race back in Thailand, but look at you, your happy face. I'm happy too. How are you feeling?
Yeah, feeling good. I mean, yeah, as a team we finished 1 or 2. Yeah, it's really good for us, and we're looking forward tomorrow.
Yes, we are looking forward tomorrow. Congratulations once again on your 3rd victory for this season. Thank you. And the teammates. Yes. Alessio, earlier this morning I interviewed you. It was an unfortunate situation, but look at you with a big smile now. How are you feeling?
It was a fun race. I had a lot of fun. But I was convinced the car was working well because, I mean, I saw our teammates. We had a lot of issues since the beginning of the weekend, but finally the car worked properly. So, yeah, big thanks to the team to fixing the car on time because the time was short. And then, again, great drive from Wei as always. It's always a pleasure to drive with him. So, yeah, we try again tomorrow.
Yes, definitely. Oh, suddenly there's a ninja right next to you guys. But wait, you had an amazing race here today. I'm happy to see you smile. How are you feeling?
I'm just happy for the team, for my teammate. My teammate is such a fighter. And the car was having mechanical issues since Thursday and Friday. Even this morning, you can see from the qualifying. Even in the race, it's not 100%. But the team really did a mega job. Like, they don't sleep every night, just trying to make it work. So I'm truly happy for all the help from all my teammates. Yeah.
Yes, hard work paid off. Congratulations. Thank you so much, both of you.
Big words there from Lu Wei. Origin with a 1-2. It's not the first time either. They have done that plenty of times. And yes, there's a ninja down there in Parc Ferme from Shinobi Zero. We might see a few, we might see them around a few in most of our races. And let's now back down to Emily.
And now I'd like to have some interviews with the silver class winners to both of you. So first of all, James, how's the race today?
I think overall, considering the results, still P1 in class, it's a good race, and Frankie did a good job, good start. A little bit unfortunate with the safety car, which cost us a bit of a time, but yeah, we're struggling a little bit with race pace, and I think, you know, during the whole stint, I was just trying to survive and, you know, try to maximize the grip out of the tires. I think we need to understand the setup and the car a little bit more, especially with the first time using these tires. So yeah, hopefully we can get a better result tomorrow.
Yes, I'm sure tomorrow is another day, but congratulations. And Frankie, yes, as your partner said, your driving was amazing today too. How are you feeling after the race?
Thanks very much. I mean, P4 is actually a very good result for championship, and as James said, I think compared to our competitors, we got some work to do with the race pace, and let's see tomorrow, and hope we can continue bringing a strong performance.
We'll be looking forward to. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you.
Yeah, these new tyres are creating some head scratching for the teams, which is great because you never want teams to feel comfortable. You always want to push teams however you can, but certainly the Audi platform, that Audi R8, such an old car, it should be well understood, shouldn't it? But as soon as you put bolt new tyres to it, then it all changes things. The Queen of Malaysia is here. The rumour was that Daddy was going to be here, but it looks like the Queen has decided to join us to support her two sons, and quite remarkable what they are doing for motorsport over in Malaysia. So here are the results then. Way, okay. There is page 2. And we can look at some of the people who are less fortunate, like that Win Here Harmony Ferrari down in 23rd position. The 45 Silver taking victory in the silver category, and they ended up in 4th position overall. An Origin 1-2 with Jordan Love on the podium. Patrick Pile and Wang Zhuwei for Absolute in 5th position ahead of the best of the silvers. Maxime Hussein just missing out on that top 10 in the BMW in 11th spot behind Ojeda and Tao Chi. Marcus Fingerholt ended up 14th in the end, ahead of Dan Arrow in 15th. That'll be maybe a disappointment for Volgas, not making the progress that they hoped for. No progress at all for Ralph Aaron, 18th spot, climax with massive head scratching to do. Darrell Young ending up over a minute down in 22nd position. In fact, only 5 seconds ahead of the pitting number 96. And then the winning AM of Earl Bama Motorsport, Santosho and Andrew Bentley. And so now to our podium celebrations. Don't forget, we've got more GT racing coming for you in a few moments' time, where we will get in about 45 minutes' time, our first Japan Cup race underway. And we await the podium. Did you see the podiums in Sugo? They had a door in the middle of the podium. Oh, that's the ninjas have overtaken the podium. Shinobu Zero, these ninjas are. I'll tell you what, the guys at SRO have done an absolutely enormous effort. To say, in Sugo, they had a door, and the door was papered over, and they came through the centre of the podium, broke through the paper to get onto the podium. That was kind of ninja-like. And here we've got Shinobi Zero ninjas in the paddock and on the podium and just sort of cropping up everywhere. It reminds me a little bit of the early days of the Goodwood Revival series, where they had road builders that would come onto the racetrack and shut the racetrack completely randomly and pretend that they were needing to fix the racetrack. Disrupt everything. You ended up with having races later than planned, and they were employed by Goodwood to do it. It wasn't completely random, but it was random from the sort of the planning point of view. Kind of hilarious. And then the ninjas just suddenly appearing on the podium. So Origin 1-2. In the end, JMR with a podium, the first podium for the 66, so they should be really happy with that. But I think they will be a little bit disappointed. Certainly Prince Jeffrey will be disappointed with only 8th position for the 99. It was always going to be tough with that success 15 seconds compensation that they had to take. Without that 15 seconds, by the way, if you do a little bit of maths, they would have been 4th. That will hurt. Maybe they shouldn't listen to that piece of commentary, because I mean, that's the way the championship works. If you win a race, then you take the penalty, and yeah, it's kind of how it's always been. It is a hard penalty to then swallow if you don't have safety cars to kind of get rid of it and nullify the effects. And we had that safety car in lap 1, but it really didn't affect much. Nice to see Prince Jeffrey there supporting brother Abu Bakr. The champagne sprays at the end of race 1. Here in Fuji, we're now into the second half of the season, and that's just been a mammoth result for the 87 Origin Motorsport. We'll have a chance to see how it affects the championship standings in a moment. Quite sure why the Goji Gen girls are wearing Union Jacks, but looks splendid. So here are the point standings then. Bob Wan and Leo Ye move to the head of the championship, ahead of Prince Jeffrey. And he, in turn, 10 points ahead of Kung Fu Chen and Yu Kuai, the silver paired lineup. But suddenly, for being so close when we arrived here, it has stretched out at the head of the field. The 45, the 37 and the 89, all with the same amount of points. And Wei Lu there in well, it says 4th spot, but he's got 3 crews ahead of him on the same points. But yeah, that's been a big win for 87. On to the next podium then. Of course, we go through each individual class, treating them as if they were their own race. Daryl O'Young on the podium alongside Jai Chong Liang. And therefore, the podium in silver, with that Ferrari number 96 missing out on the opportunity for a podium. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been quite an epic battle. We've got more racing to come from Fuji tomorrow morning. Join us then. So the silver podium then, the number 45 ahead of the number 16 with the number 77 there and the Ninjas. Endless Racing, endless sponsorship on the pink Uno Racing Audi. There and thereabouts, weren't they? It's always a bit trickier in race 2 because of the way they qualify. But 12th position in the end overall for Sean Thong. Lots of smiles down in the paddock. And Daryl O'Young gets a chance to spray some champagne. Daryl needs to focus on re-engineering his race suit, I think. Team owner of Craft Bamboo. Also manages various drivers, including Bianca Bustamante, who races in the F1 Academy for McLaren, I think it is. And has recently signed also in Formula E. So silver being led by the 45. Still second position for Andy Ding, but quite a way back and on the same points as Liang Jiatong, who obviously also has had different teammates throughout this year. On to Silver Am and the BMWs on that podium, but probably the least large smile that they have had all year, I imagine. Preparing them to sit their champagne. I love the focus. There's Team KRC, a very small outfit, but very well tuned. And even with that penalty, Akishnandi and Juan Ruhan in second position. Giving that second though, giving the victory to Nissan and to Yu Kanemaru and Hirobon with those Nissan flags. So much support, and it's great to see from Nissan. Their head of motorsport always with them. Might be a small outfit. There might just be one of their cars represented in GT World Challenge Asia. By the way, if you like Nissans, then stay with us and join us on the Japan Cup race, because there's 4 in that category. They are the second preferred car behind Ferrari. Unfortunately, they didn't qualify particularly well, but if you fly the flag hard enough, then maybe they can have a good performance. Very competitive Silver Am entry, with 9 of them. And the Nissan prevails. But it's going to be a hard task in the championship to overhaul the BMW, because the BMW has been so strong throughout most of the year, but maybe losing its grasp a little bit, because the Nissan took the victory in class race 1 last time out. Victory in class was not the way of the BMW in race 2 either, because the Lamborghini got it. And nice to see proper champagne on the podium as well. None of this will Prosecco do. No, absolutely not. That is a Moet and Chandon, isn't it? Right, one last podium then. And our 4 amateur cars. And that was a last little sort of shock, wasn't it? 1 lap before the end. So championship-wise, I say BMW well ahead in Silver Am, ahead of that Lamborghini. And then Yu Kanemaru, of course, with 2 different teammates, therefore third on his own in the Nissan. And it's quite well spaced out between the lot of them, with the 25 Porsche Center Okazaki in 4th and Min Ran Hang in 5th position, also having various teammates across the year. Emily doing an amazing job down there, animating the crowd and getting them all hyped up for their final podium. David Cipto Biantoro, the Indonesian driver, with Christian Colombo, the Ferrari head coach for the XX program for Ferrari. He'll have double duty to do as well, won't he? Making sure that the Ferrari Challenge Japan that we have is going. And why is there no third in-am on the podium? Because third in-am should be... maybe there was some confusion. Third in-am should have been the Ferrari of Wakisaka, because they were so far ahead of the 51 that even though they retired one lap before the end, because Andrew McPherson got lapped, McPherson ended up behind Wakisaka. And so actually the Ferrari that retired ended up third, and the Porsche dropped to fourth position in AM. And that probably caused a bit of confusion, I imagine. So that's why we've only got two teams up there on the podium, and a big congratulations once again to Andrew Bentley for taking the victory with very limited experience. No such limitation for his teammate though. Setuan Tansoso did the whole year last year on his own, didn't he, in the AM category. But this year with a teammate, with Andrew Bentley and Martin Berry. And actually, even though you would suggest that Martin Berry would be the one that should have taken the victories in class, it's been Andrew Bentley who has stood on the top step of the podium each time Santosho has taken the win. Championship points then, and Garage 79 at the head of the championship, ahead of Will Ben Porter, who does need Andrew McPherson to get ill again if he wants to take the championship. Setuan Santosho 10 points behind Ben Porter. And then the rest of the AM competitors that we've seen this year, the LM Course Ferrari, of course, only part a AM championship contender because it went into Pro-Am for 2 rounds. The global point standings after this first race, Mercedes just about still handing on over Porsche, but look how close it is now, and you would have to say by the end of this weekend here in Asia, Porsche might regain the global manufacturer standings. BMW not getting the points that we proposed, but still very much there and thereabouts, with Ferrari in 4th and Audi a good day here, but down in 5th position. Of course, we had a Chevrolet, which is also in the global manufacturers points, but outside of the top 6 that we can display. Fuji playing host to round 7 of the GT World Challenge Asia Championship, and a clean start going down towards turn 1 between the 96 of Lu Kai Lu and the 45 of Frankie Cheng. Everyone very respectful through what is usually a bit of a pinch point, but out of the corner there was chaos at the tail of the field. Ferrari coming off the grass and into the side of the 3-2-1 Porsche of Brian Chengwu Li, and that caused a safety car. Pros in the car for the second half of the race, AMS therefore for the first half, and we instantly got our pit stoppers. Everything pretty stable in the first half of the race, but there were track limit infringements being handed out. The 37, for instance, of Anthony Liu getting a penalty for track limits and then getting a penalty for a short pit stop. After we got the pros into the cars, then we saw really decent racing. This was the 66 of Jordan Love going alongside Alessio Piccarello. Piccarello having to overtake here off track, and race control deeming that to be a slight advantage to the number 4, giving him a 4-second penalty. But ahead of the field, after the pit stops, was the 87 of Liu Ye and Bob Wan. They've already taken 2 victories this year, and this would be their 3rd victory of the year. Origin catapulting themselves to the head of the championship standings, and with a strong race looking forward to tomorrow, race 2 as well. Big smiles down at Origin. They got a 1-2 in the end, with the number 4 finishing in 2nd. Make sure you join us. Japan Cup Race 1 coming up in a few moments' time, and Race 2 of GT World Challenge on Sunday morning.